Your boss may never praise you. They may keep their distance and treat you with no real warmth from one week to the next. And still, every urgent task ends up on your desk. That is a pattern, and the pattern reveals something they would prefer you never worked out. This is not about reading minds. One bad day proves nothing. What matters is repetition, because repetition is where intention hides. When the same behavior repeats across months, it stops being mood and starts being information. And it does not always mean simple dislike. It can mean resentment, insecurity, or fear of the leverage your competence hands them. The label matters less than the pattern because the pattern is what costs you. Start with the uncomfortable part. A boss does not have to like you to use you. Plenty of people confuse being needed with being respected, and the two have almost nothing to do with each other. A manager can dislike your confidence, your independence, or the fact that you make their limitations visible just by doing your job well. But if you are the one who keeps the operation running, getting rid of you would cost them more than admitting they need you. So instead of open hostility, you get something stranger. They criticize you and keep handing you the important work. They skip your name during the praise and call you first when something breaks. That contradiction is the whole video. Sign 1. They attack your personality but keep depending on your competence. They will not touch your actual output because your output is useful and hard to argue with. So they move the fight somewhere vaguer: your tone, your attitude, your energy, the way you communicate. You will hear it built around the word but. You are very good, but you can be difficult. You deliver, but you need to be more humble. The first half admits your value. The second half exists to shrink your influence. So do not argue about whether you are too much. Pull it back to something measurable and ask them to point to the specific outcome that was affected. That drags the complaint out of personality and back onto work that can be examined. Sign 2. They withhold your credit in public and lean on you in private. In the meeting, your contribution barely registers and work you carried alone becomes a team effort. But when a client is furious or a deadline is collapsing, you are the first person they call. They trust your work, they just do not want your name rising with it. So forget whether they praise you. Watch who they run to when it gets serious. If the answer is you, they already know what you are worth. Your move is unemotional. Document what you do in short recap emails that confirm what you finished and sent, with no bitterness in the tone, so the record lives somewhere outside one person's memory. Sign 3. They pile on responsibility but never hand you the authority. This is the trap. They give you senior level work and emergency level pressure, and they withhold the title, the pay, and the power that should come with it. Responsibility without authority is a trap because it makes you accountable for results you have no power to control. They want your competence feeding the operation, with none of it changing your position inside the operation. The correction is calm. Tell them you are glad to keep operating at this level, then ask whether your title, your pay, or your authority should match the scope you are already carrying. That is hard to dismiss because it is true and polite at once. Sign 4. They are cold towards you as a person, but protective of your availability. They do not ask how you are. There is no warmth in the day-to-day, but take a day off, set one boundary, or become hard to reach for an afternoon, and the reaction is instant. That contrast is the tell. What they miss is the version of the workplace that only exists while you keep absorbing everything. Your stress gets ignored until it threatens a deadline. A leave request gets met with annoyance. After hours, the messages keep coming because somewhere they decided your time was theirs. And this is where you have to be honest with yourself. Are you being cared about here or only relied on? When your absence would trigger a crisis and your presence still earns you nothing, you have stopped being a person to them and become a resource to manage. So build the language now. You can handle it in the morning, and tonight you are offline. Or you can prioritize this, but something else has to move, so tell me which. Sign 5. They get irritated when you succeed without needing them. Some managers are fine with weak performers because a weak performer makes them look capable. The one who unsettles them is the one who succeeds alone. Solve problems without supervision, get praised in other departments, build a name they do not control, and an insecure manager starts to cool. Your competence makes you harder to manage and easier to bypass, and that makes them feel less necessary. So your wins get downplayed. The praise from others gets met with a flat face. Small problems appear right after you do something well. What they want is for your success to stay tied to them, so the credit always routes back through their name. The answer is to stay visible without gloating. Keep the work in the open, keep them looped in, and remove the excuse that you operate behind their back. Sign 6. They block your growth on purpose because your current role serves them. This is different from low pay or a heavy load. This is captivity. The language sounds generous. You are not ready yet. We need you where you are. Let us revisit later. Underneath, it means you are too useful in this seat for them to let you out of it. Being called too valuable to promote is a cage with slightly better lighting, so the transfers get discouraged. The promotion talk slides to a later date that never arrives. The projects that would put you in front of senior leaders go to someone safer. The correction is to stop asking for encouragement and start asking for a deadline. What exact criteria? By what date? If they cannot name the criteria, then readiness was never the real problem. And what stands in your way is that your growth would cost them something they would rather keep. Sign 7. They keep you out of the decision and pull you into the execution. You are not in the room when strategy gets set. Then leadership commits to something unrealistic, and now you are very much in the room because someone has to make it work. They want your hands on the work and nowhere near the decision. So before you accept the handoff, get the history on record. Ask what assumptions were made and what was already agreed before it reached you. Otherwise, you inherit a broken plan with none of the context and all of the blame. Sign 8. They trust you with the dirty work, never the glamorous work. Notice the type of work that lands on you: the crisis, the cleanup, the angry client, the deadline nobody wants. Then a high visibility chance appears, the leadership presentation, the project that could move your career, and it goes to someone else. They will trust you with pressure all day long, and never once with a platform. You are reliable when the work is ugly, then invisible when the reward becomes useful. You fix the account, someone else presents the recovery. You train the team, someone else gets the lead title. So stop asking only for more work and start asking for visible work. Say you want to present the part you led, so leadership sees the full picture. Asking to have your own name on your own work is simply overdue. One thing before the last two. Doing good work is the easy part. Protecting your reputation when people start rewriting what happened is the part nobody teaches you. That is why I made the Office Politics Survival Guide. It breaks down how to read power, protect your name, document your value, and survive a corporate environment without becoming fake. The link is in the description. Sign 9. They keep you close enough to use and distant enough to deny. Sensitive tasks, unofficial duties, instructions said out loud and never written down. You become the one who just knows what to do while your role stays vague enough to disown later. When it goes well, your work folds into theirs. When it goes wrong, they never asked you to do that in the first place. That is how a useful employee becomes a scapegoat. Risky work arrives by word of mouth with no paper behind it. Approvals get avoided. You carry outcomes you were never formally given the power to control. So confirm things in writing. After the conversation, a short note. Confirming from our talk, I will proceed with this by Friday, based on the direction to prioritize this over that. Call it record keeping, and record keeping is what survives in a room full of selective memory. Sign 10. They panic when you pull back and resent you when you step up. Fully available, your effort reads as normal, almost invisible. Pull back, and the dependence they have been ignoring becomes obvious overnight. The reaction comes fast, anxious, irritated, sometimes oddly warm, right when they sense you drifting. They ask if you are happy here after months of not asking. Praise appears the moment they suspect you are looking elsewhere. Loyalty language comes out as a lever. Some managers only find your value when losing you becomes real, and that discovery has nothing to do with respect. It only means the cost of losing you finally showed up on their desk. So do not let sudden warmth do the work a real change should do. When the friendliness arrives, ask what is actually attached to it. Role, pay, workload, a path. Compliments with no change behind them are just emotional rent control. They keep you in place without ever improving the terms. Step back and one idea holds all 10 together. Being needed and being valued are different things. Need sounds like, we cannot do this without you. Value sounds like, here is the title, the pay, the authority, and the protection that match it. Most people in this trap only ever hear the first sentence. Do not mistake mixed signals for safety. The comforting thought is that if they really disliked you, they would fire you. They will not if firing you costs them more than keeping you does. That is not safety. A useful employee can still be underpaid, stalled, excluded, set up as a scapegoat, and slowly drained, all while keeping the job. And leverage expires. If a manager dislikes you but cannot function without you, you are holding leverage right now, and the longer you sit in it unused, the more it gets extracted until there is nothing left to trade. One caution: being needed can go to a person's head, and the ones who get arrogant about it tend to learn how fast importance gets reassigned. Leverage works best when it stays calm. It buys you room to negotiate without fear, and that is all it needs to do. So document your value. Stop accepting responsibility with no ownership attached. Ask for measurable criteria instead of soon or later. Build a reputation that does not run only through the person who resents you. And prepare your options before resentment turns into collapse, so leaving, if it comes to that, is a decision and not an emergency. A manager may dislike you because you are a reminder of something they cannot control. But if they cannot afford to lose you, you are carrying more leverage than they want you to understand. There is nothing wrong with being valuable. The damage comes from letting someone use that value while talking you into believing you have none of it.